Hello, good morning, everybody. Yes, it is a different location, but yes, still, the news continues. Welcome along to Forever United TV. I've got all of your Manchester United updates, everything going on in and around the club, on and off the pitch, updates on both today. Manchester United's recruitment reshuffle, what's happening transfer-wise with Brian Mbeumo, a little bit more on what I was talking about last night while I was at the airport before we set off. And obviously, the news this morning is all centred around the outgoings again for Manchester United in Alejandro Garnacho's potential move, not to the Premier League though, so updates on that. And Jadon Sancho's nightmare saga and the lies from somebody, whether it be from within inside the representation of Jadon Sancho. I have no idea what's been going on because they haven't really come out and said much at the moment. But who is telling the Italian reporters all of these stories about Jadon Sancho and what's happening right now and how close this deal is? 28 million, it's all good to go. And then we hear stories from last night from Romano completely kiboshing every single one of them stories. And then a new update this morning on where United are really at with Jadon Sancho. That's where we're starting the stories today. That's where we're getting into the show. Everything along with your reports, not your reports, well actually you might have done some reports, but your thoughts more to the point on the show and the topics we're talking about. Of course in the live chats, and if you're catching up later, please do get your comments in below. I'm in Corfu at the moment. Well, we're having a few days away while all of the storm just settles down around Manchester United coming back to pre-season training. I thought this would be a good time of year to actually just go away while pre-season was just starting. And of course, I do like to push along some transfers because every time I actually go away, something big happens. So over the next few days, let's hope that that is the case again. And I'll be here to cover it all for you. Nice and warm here, as it is probably in England at the moment as well, looking at the weather forecast. But yeah, here we go, everyone. Let's get into the news and let's get cracking. Okay, everything looks okay. Last time I did this, the volume wasn't fantastic, but it looks like everything is all okay on the volume side of things. Just checking out to make sure that everything is good. It looks all okay to me, and you guys all look quite happy with everything that's going on. So let's get into everything and let's go and start with the Jadon Sancho situation and where we're actually at with that at the moment, because that one I think has, alongside Brian Mbeumo, started to, I'd say, raise the frustration levels of this Manchester United fan base, and quite rightly so. So we were told, and even yesterday, actually, well, we were talking before Romano actually came on, and we did a show in the morning yesterday, and I said, there is always a part of me that never believes anything that's happening that sounds positive around Jadon Sancho. I just don't believe anything around that player and what he is ever going to be good news for this football club. And yet again, into the last year of his contract, clinging on to every single problem that he could cause for this club, again, in his wage demands, because he is that absolute baller that deserves that money that he's on. Look, my opinion and my frustrations besides on this one, the way you've got to look at it here is that there is a complete mess. I don't know whether it's some representation of Jadon Sancho that's pushing all of this news into the Italian media, but there has been plenty of it reported. Now, yesterday I did report, alongside the positives, that Damasio had actually said that Conceição was the preferred target for Juventus at the time, and where there has actually been interest in Sancho from Juventus, and there have been talks, like Romano said, it was always thought that Conceição actually was the main target. Now, yesterday, after our report in the morning, Juventus actually made a bid that was rejected. So you can quite clearly see that's an official bid. And at the moment, from what Romano has said, there has been zero official bids. There has been zero club-to-club contact. There are talks, but in terms of negotiations on a fee or anything like that, there is absolutely zilcho. Nothing at all. So it's like everything that we've been reporting on and every single story that has been coming out, we're just looking at that now as lies. Someone is telling lies in this whole setup with Jadon Sancho. But again, what it does highlight here is the major problem that Manchester United are facing when it comes to dealing with getting players out of this football club. Every other club seems to be able to deal with players leaving, and it's never a problem. Manchester United we're the whipping boys for everything that everybody wants to get cheap. We're the ones that other clubs take the mick out of. We're the club that everybody's laughing at constantly, all of the time. It just seems to be a saga, no matter what. Even when a deal looks like it's set, like it was, it's never been closer. agreement in personal terms. It's about £1 million out at the moment in terms of Jadon Sancho and his contract supposedly with Juventus. Agreement is very close and this could be done and finalised. All agreement with the clubs has all been sorted already. It should move forward fast. And it's like, come on, where's the big one? Where's the big one? Where's the, here we go, where's this is definitely happening? Nothing. Romano shuts it completely down by saying what he did last night, and Manchester United now are struggling again. And then, on top of this, we get another report this morning, which is where we're now up to, which is that Jadon Sancho, Manchester United, the situation around this is now that United are willing to drop the price completely for Jadon Sancho to near 15 to 10 million. Now, I look at that, and normally you would say, in a situation where we've been so close, apparently, to getting Jadon Sancho over the line, and this deal nearly being done, you'd be normally frustrated and angry. I was like, is this not what I've been saying all along? Take the hit, lower the prices for the players. You cannot get what you want for the players that don't represent you. It is impossible. How can you drive a price? So this is where I believe that United haven't even driven these prices, and they've all been lies, and it's all been completely made up. We'll report on everything, and we'll talk about everything and how realistic it is and how that might help the club. We're a fan channel, and that's what we do. We look at all of the reports and we talk about it. We're not claiming to be in the know. People will tell us stuff because they like the show and they think they're helping out. But realistically, when you look at it, when all of the reports have come out and you put them all together, if they're true or not, it is just a case of what might be and what could be with a lot of it. And in the future, maybe it will be a lot more straightforward in transfer windows for Manchester United. But while we've still got the circus going on and the players involved in this football club that we've got, that we're overpaying, that we all know about, we're always going to have this type of window. It's not going to be straightforward for Manchester United until, well, I reckon, another 2 or 3 years down the line, we might start getting normal transfer windows. And by normal, I mean something like what you would get with Newcastle, an Arsenal, City, Liverpool. We're miles away from that. I reckon 3 years away from getting rid of all of the crap and players that we don't want at the football club and actually being able to deal with what's necessary. So by that, I mean, you look at Manchester United now, I just said it a moment ago, Manchester United dropping the price for Jadon Sancho. Was there ever a bigger price? Was it always 15 million? Get him out of the door. People are saying these things, and even reputable journalists that follow Manchester United are saying similar things, but we don't actually know. It is all just a guess from a few of them. So I said it all along, Manchester United need to just accept that these players are not worth anything to anybody. How can United ask for a certain price when they don't want the players at their football club? It's impossible to ask for 60 million for Garnacho, 25 million for Jadon Sancho. It's so unrealistic in this day and age now in football, where, yeah, people are asking, well, other clubs can get this much money and the sales are this straightforward for other football clubs. Anthony Elanga has had a very, very good season. I don't know if anyone noticed, but his stock is very, very high. Compare that to an overpriced Jadon Sancho. I'm sorry, it's incomparable. Uncomparable. You just cannot do it. Manchester United are in a different league when it comes to this transfer window. Not a chance. And then after that final and what Garnacho said and the fallout already, and add Marcus Rashford to that as well, 3 players there that clearly are not wanted by United. Other clubs, they're never going to pay what you want. Look what United are doing with Brentford at the moment with Brian Mbeumo. They're not going to pay more than what they think he's worth. And what is another club looking at Manchester United thinking about their players and how much they're worth? Jack shit, basically. You know what I mean? Why would they pay it? Look, there's a problem there, clearly, because the biggest club on the planet, supposedly, in Man United, doesn't want this player. Something's wrong. So we're not going to give you what you ideally want. Or in fact, if United have even give a price out there at the moment, I don't think United would actually feel like that price was right. I actually think the prices that are going around for our players aren't real. I think Manchester United behind the scenes are trying to keep it under wraps as much as they can, just so they can get these players out of the door. So, yeah, with Sancho and that price drop, is it a price drop? I mean, we know that 25 million was the price for Chelsea. We've got 5 million off them. Are United just willing now to drop that just to get rid of the players? Because, like we said, we're nearly 7 weeks into the window opening now, and we haven't had one bid for any player, according to the major journalist. It's time to drop the prices. It's time to back Ruben by getting these players out of the door and moving forward. That's where United are at right now, and this is what we have to act on. It's ridiculous to think that we're going to get absolutely mega money for some of our players. It's an absolute, it's a long shot, a complete long shot for Man United getting anywhere near 25 million for Jadon Sancho or 60 for Garnacho for that matter. But look, that is where Manchester United feel the price is at. I think it's realistic, 15 million. Get rid of Jadon Sancho. I don't think there's many people that would disagree with that. I think many people actually in the chat right now. Please do get your comments in as well, everyone, and what you're thinking about this. But that's what I'm reading this morning after what Romano said last night. Complete and utter nonsense, it seems. And all of a sudden, Manchester United, like I just said, when you round it up, you can see why there's frustration within the fan base. I will always stand by the fact that Manchester United are struggling because of what's happened before, but I've always been acceptant of it. And this is why my anger is more based at the players for trying to actually still stick to what they actually think is realistic when it's nowhere near realistic. And United are having to go to desperate measures to get into these players' heads. So just to round up exactly where I'm at and what my view is on this, and you can agree or disagree with it, these players think that they're still living in an Ed Woodward world. Manchester United's new team has come in, management, recruitment, everything, coaching has come in, and they've had to make such drastic measures to prove to these players or show these players that they are not on that level. Garnacho, you're not worth that money. Sancho, Rashford, not worth it. You're not coming back. Find another club. And United have to accept that that has lowered their prices completely. I think we actually do accept it. And in the case of probably Marcus Rashford, for instance, on this, we could actually say that we are now in a position where he might be worth a certain amount if we negotiate with Barcelona. He might be worth a certain amount if, obviously, we look at the back end of his time at Aston Villa, 40 million after, like we said last night, Barcelona, Nico Williams, things like that. I feel like United could probably squeeze it out and they're going to play hardball with Barcelona. I mean, I don't mind that. I mean, Marcus Rashford has got a reputation, has got a record in the Premier League. Jadon Sancho and Garnacho haven't. So I can see why Man United would want to do it on that side of things. But I think that realistically is, I feel, Manchester United with Rashford, a little bit different. But Sancho, I mean, tell me in the chat, everybody, is it 15 minutes? Sorry, is it 15 million? 15 million, is he worth that money? I think that's right. I do. I think Sancho, I think that's his value. His market value is that. That means you've collected 20 million for him right at the end of his contract, where he's really proved nothing in the Premier League. That's real, isn't it? And you look at it, and I think clubs would also look at him and say, look, most of his goals and most of his contribution came in the Conference League. So that, I think, is something else that we need to look at also. In terms of where Jadon Sancho is actually at. So when we go into, let's just say, the Garnacho saga, which we're going to talk about next, it will be slightly different again because you've got more of a potential than what Jadon Sancho has got right now, even though Jadon Sancho's still in his mid-20s. But yeah, right, let's get into that as well. I think, is the volume quite low for some people? I'm sorry if it is. I'm trying to max it out as best I can at the moment on my settings, but I will work with it. I think it is as high as it can possibly go at the moment, but let me know if there is any issues at all with it. But I think we're actually not too bad. We should be okay. I'm trying to talk as loud as I possibly can, but we'll figure it out. I think it is actually, it's not too bad, to be honest, but any problems, just let us know. I will tweak it for the next shows as well, but I think at the moment we're not too bad anyway. But get the comments in on everything that we've spoken about there with Jadon Sancho. I want some prices now. With everything that's happened 7 weeks into the window, do you feel like Jadon Sancho, now we have to accept that he is only worth a certain amount of money? Get your comments in on that one, please, everybody. Let's get into some of the chat. Manny Super Chat straight out. Regardless of the market, the player is only worth what someone is willing to pay. If United need a fire sale, well, I've got the matches. Get rid of them. Well, I've got the matches, he says. We'll get rid of them. They are going to hurt our next window. We just need the players out. I think the players out at a certain price and then go according. I've never believed that we'll be able to get the amount of players in that we need in one window, particularly if we're going for top targets. We can always get 6 players in, but they're not going to be of the quality that we really want or what Manchester United need right now. And we've discussed that over the last few days, haven't we? With the loanees and, not the loanees, with the free agents and whatnot. We could always get many players in, but I don't think the club are going to do it. I think it might be 3 or 4 of the absolute quality that we need. And I think that's where United are actually at. Club made stupid choices that they're going to win stupid prizes. Sancho, Garnacho and Rashford think Man United is a money tree. That from JF as well. Previous message was from D Hexian. Thanks for them. Ginge says Rashford value is 15 million because he won't lower wage. Apparently he will lower his wages. That's a story that's going around. We'll see if that is true. Therefore, buying a club won't pay 40 million. This is our fault for paying a kick and run player 375 grand a week. Look, I'm not going to disagree with most of that comment there from Ginge regarding what Manchester United have done in the past, the way that we have completely ballsed up transfers, ballsed up contract extensions, overpaid players, and we think we've overpaid players for just average, mediocre football. There's been no accountability for the absolute dross that we have provided over the last few years, and it has been. It's been nowhere near the standard compared to the wage that we actually pay. And this, I think, is the reality of where we are now again. And this is what I've always had an understanding of. It is the club's fault. As much as I want to blame the players, I do want to blame the club more than anything, because they're the ones that employ the people, that pay the wages, that make the decisions, that have cost us this transfer window and many to come until we fix it. And it's not going to be a quick fix. The loss that Man United will take on these players has all been built up over the years of poor management of the club. I'm sick of saying it, but it is the reality, and that's where we're at. The club are ultimately the ones at fault here. And the hard thing for a lot of the people at Man United to take right now, who are taking the flack and the stick for it, is that all of this was caused by previous members of staff who have now left with a fortune, just like all of the players that they were paying at the same time as well. Everyone used Manchester United as a cash machine. Even some of the directors and people in big roles at the football club used United as a cash machine. It was all for their own benefit. And honestly, again, the best thing that Ineos did was bring in a football structure for Manchester United. But even that isn't going to be able to fix this. It's going to take absolute donkeys for Manchester United to be fixed and competing again. And without more and more investment coming into the football club, we're not going to get there anytime soon. So if it is going to be a long project of bringing in young players like Emerson James, who's just signed for Manchester United from Southampton, we're not going to see him for 2 or 3 years. All of the younger players coming in 3 or 4 years down the line that we're signing up, that's the timescale, isn't it? The 3 to 5 year plan. And in their heads, they think they can save money by bringing younger players in. And that, I think, is where Manchester United's head is at the moment. But that, I still think, is as well a little bit of an unrealistic look on things. Moses says, I suggest that if any club don't want our players, let's give them another try to prove themselves until the end of the season. They're United, and the players and United will, in best moments, to pathway. Oh God, mate, so many different typos and issues with that comment there, but the biggest issue is the fact that you actually said that you should give these players another chance. Forget it, mate. There's not one Man United fan, I don't think, that I've spoken to that actually thinks that these players deserve another chance. They cannot and will not be given a chance, because they'll just get the same as we get every single season. So forget that one, mate, completely. Ant with a super chat says, listen peeps, do we want a clean slate, a fresh start? Yeah. Then sometimes you have to just suck it up, take the hard times and get on with it. Ant is giving it the realistic look at the moment, mate. I love that. Well said, mate. Cheers for the super chats. Not many United fans will forget Sancho the day he leaves. Only bad memories will come back. Paul, bang on the money, Paul. I agree with that completely. Tim says Samat will be crying a river with what's happened to United by these absolute parasites. Look, it is all down to the Glazers. It is all down to the Glazers, because they're the ones that employed the people and kept them in a job and have run the club to where it is now. It will always be them, and they have taken money out of United without putting anything in at all. one of the only, I think, owners in the Premier League that has done so since owning a football club. Zero investment. And this is why the United fans have got a problem with Ineos, because they're saying that they're nice guys. So, yeah, I understand the good. I completely get the bad, and I completely get the Man United fan opinion of Ineos's ownership. I really do. I'm just more of a realist when I look at things, and I know that this isn't going to go away, and we have to accept it. And that's where this club is at right now. Block says, Adam, I missed the start. Where in the world are you? I am in Corfu for anybody who is interested. On tour again. I'm pretty much on tour just so I can push forward the Bryan Mbeumo deal and get it over the line, because every time I go away, there's always a big transfer news breaking, and I'm trying to preempt it and trying to manifest Manchester United making a bleeding transfer. That's what I'm trying. That's what I'm here for. Deliberately coming abroad. No, I'm not. I'm having a bit of a break as well. But no, work always comes with us, and we're always bringing you the news, as like I said at the top of the show. And on that, just on the Bryan Mbeumo situation, we might as well move on to that now, because that is obviously still very, very important in terms of, I think, Manchester United's nervous system, our fans' nervous system at the moment. Kudus signed for Tottenham. Obviously, Alanga's going to Spurs, both of them medicals today. Obviously, them two have just both come out of the blue and been accepted, and United fans will use that against where United are at right now. Why can't we just do that? Again, I never get... I've seen this many a times. I've been doing this for a long time, and I've seen many stories. I've seen different transfer windows, lived through it all, like many of you have in the chat. You're not new or not fresh to Manchester United and how things work. I can tell from the chat alone, you expect this to be this way now. Manchester United are different to every other Premier League football club when it comes to a transfer. We know this. Man United without money and an actual structure in place that isn't going to blow money is going to be even harder to take for a lot of the fan base. So Bryan Mbeumo, for instance, and where we're at right now, Sky the latest to report on this, in particularly after the Juan Visa news yesterday that came out, which I was talking about at the airport. By the way, at the airport, again, this is the second year in a row that a Manchester United goalkeeper has been in the same airport as us. Just as we were waiting and filming the actual video last night in Manchester Airport, Altay Bayındır walked past us on his way back from Turkey. A flight from Turkey arrived, and first off the plane, Bayındır. Funnily enough, Kaz actually waved at him. She said to me, she said, where's that guy from in her head? Thinking, I know that face. And she said, that's Bayındır, it's Bayındır. And waved at him. And you know that moment when someone waves at you and you're like, oh, they must know me, so they wave back. So it's like Bayındır waved back at Kaz. It was like, and then you see him walking down with his friend further down. It's like, I don't know, was that someone who was pointing back at Kaz? It was a funny moment, actually. But yeah, Kaz got the Kaz got the reaction out of Bayındır at Manchester Airport yesterday. So yeah, so that's Vitek last year and Bayındır this year. Goalkeeping, Manchester United goalkeepers. So hopefully something happens after that. But yeah, it was a funny moment. But on the Bryan Mbeumo situation, actually, Sky saying that Manchester United are still confident of getting the deal done before United go out on tour. Obviously, the clock is ticking now, and the tour, Manchester United head out. I think it's the 20th, 21st of the month that we head out. So obviously today, now on the 10th, less than 2 weeks before Manchester United go out on tour. In fact, just over a week until we play Leeds in Sweden, in Stockholm. So that's around the corner as well. So if we're looking at getting Mbeumo in and maybe integrating him in, getting some game time for him. Obviously, we're 3 or 4 days into pre-season training now already, and we've seen the pictures of the new boys, Diego Leon and Matheus Cunha, already in training with Manchester United players. We're expecting Bruno and Dalot back after the weekend as well. Who else is coming back? You'll have the Danish contingent of Rasmus Højlund and Chidowabi also coming back into the fray at Manchester United. A few other players, De Ligt, also, no, De Ligt's actually back already, I think, but you get what I mean anyway. So yeah, if we're going to get Bryan Mbeumo done, and the latest on that, after the Visa news last night, that died off straight away. And if you notice, the person who actually leaked this news on Johan Visa, Ben Jacobs jumped onto it, but it was that same source from Sky again, the one who said that Brentford are going in for Bryan Mbeumo. He was the one who started it all off, and that turned out to be complete and utter nonsense. So don't read too much in the Johan Vsauce news going to Spurs and that all of a sudden hampering Manchester United. It will be a problem if that happens, and we do have to talk about it because United obviously are still trying to get this deal done. And I think it might have been a tactic possibly from Brentford just to try and push United again. But like everybody has said, United are still comfortable with the Bryan Mbeumo situation. They haven't got a problem with it. They're looking at this and saying that Manchester United are at complete ease with everything that's going on right now with this deal. They feel like they're going to get it done and wrapped up soon. The only thing is with this, and the only difference in Manchester United's stance and what's actually happening and what we're worrying about and what we're reading, is that we do know that Ruben Amorim and Bryan Mbeumo need to be coming together. Like, Ruben wants him in the squad to prepare, and Bryan Mbeumo wants to come back to training at Manchester United. He doesn't want to go back to Brentford. So that, honestly, right now, and everything that's happening with this transfer, I think is going to push this into some form of news or big update by the weekend for Bryan Mbeumo. Don't worry about the Vsauce news. I mean, honestly, if I was Manchester United at this point, and Brentford were worried about losing both players, Manchester United need a striker. Manchester United looking for a number 10. Go buy both of them. Get a deal done for both of these players with Brentford. That's what I would say. Look, both, like I said last night, Reece has got 1 year left on his deal. If you're not looking for a striker, the right price, then I'd go, there you go, blow your whole budget, get Visa and Mbeumo in. I don't think Visa's a bad striker at all. And he's got that link up with Bryan Mbeumo. Look, it's probably not going to happen, but never say never, is what you say. If Visa is up for sale this summer, then I think United should actually be looking at him. You're looking for a Prem-proven striker? You're looking for someone who's scoring goals? You're looking for someone who's not going to cost you more than 50 million, because I don't think he would, then maybe. You could say that. A lot of people say they think he's a bit lightweight. Maybe he hasn't got a full engine in him to run for 90 minutes. Maybe he doesn't reserve energy that well. There's a lot of things, again, like every other striker we've spoken about, that could come to Manchester United that people don't like. But still, I think he has got qualities there that will benefit Manchester United massively. So, again, let's just see what happens going forward with this. But in terms of the Bryan Mbeumo one, don't worry about it too much, is the sort of word going around. It's not going to affect Manchester United buying Bryan Mbeumo. So not too much to worry about there, I don't think. But we'll see how that develops. I think by weekend there should be a major update on the Bryan Mbeumo situation, because he's reportedly coming back from his break on Monday. Will it be at Brentford? Will it be at Man United? Thursday now. Let's see. I'm expecting something to break or some news to come out very, very soon on Bryan Mbeumo. It has to, for the player and Brentford's sake and Manchester United. So it's all coming to a head, I think, with the Bryan Mbeumo situation. Ian in the chat says, Visa, Mbeumo and Cunha up front. Sign me up for that. It could take weeks for United to work, says Pete. But Ian with the first one there. Would you take Visa up front, anybody? Just out of curiosity. It's not a story. It's not happening. But if he's for sale, he's a striker with Premier League proven qualities. United might get pretty cheap. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, if you're looking for one, like, who would you rather have? Would you rather have Vlahovic or would you have Visa? Forget about the price tag. In terms of the player itself, what would you go for if it was a clean slate? Which striker would you go for? Visa or Vlahovic? They're the two that we're talking about at the moment. Visa, again, like I said, I'm not building up a story that something's been said. It's not. I'm just saying this kid has got the same situation as Bryan Mbeumo at the moment. 1 year left at Brentford on his contract. I don't see either of these two signing a new deal. Like, Brentford are stuck. And the reality is, if you push Brentford even further down the road here in this window, you might actually be able to get an even better deal for two players rather than one. Look, just a thought. Just a thought. Playing around with ideas again, everybody. By the way, quickly, well done to England's women and Ella Toone last night. Manchester United's representation. England back on track in the Women's Euros. Well done to Ella Toone and her goal again. She doesn't score tap-ins, that girl, I'll tell you that for nothing. In terms of Matheus Cunha, he has been speaking recently as well. We've got a little bit of an update on Vlahovic coming in also. I'll bring you up to date on that. But I want to move on to Garnacho next and where we're at with that. Story came out from Disco Dave from the Mirror last night. Again, if you don't know Dave, he is the journalist that got barred from Manchester United from Ten Hag, along with a few others for being outspoken. I think it was around the leaks saga going on last season or the season before. But Manchester United obviously are not getting any offers for Garnacho like we've reported, but apparently, and this just fits into what I have actually been saying for a while, Garnacho 45 million. Napoli might have played this perfectly here. So there's a report that Napoli are backing for Garnacho. Napoli might have played this absolutely bang on here because they've waited it out. That Manchester United, whether or not, like I said at the top of the show, because this is just what people are guessing, the Athletic have come out and said that there has been no price set on Garnacho's head. Nothing is set. They're still open to offers. I think it is about 45 million. That's Garnacho's price. I'm sorry, you can put the sell-on clause in there. If he does turn out to be a world beater, United will recoup that money when he's sold on. But Napoli apparently are backing. And don't forget, like, there's never been a disconnect from this deal from January. Now, Napoli, obviously, have got other business to deal with. They're trying to move on Victor Osimhen, and no coincidence, they start talking about Garnacho as it moves Osimhen closer to the exit door. And just putting two and two together and where this report has come from here. So, reading between the lines again, Napoli in for 45 million, that is their price. I don't think they've ever moved off that. It's between 45 and 50 million. We've always said it. That is the most realistic price, and that's what I see Garnacho going for. And it would be a massive help for Manchester United. That there is just pure profit. Nothing to really pay off in terms of contract for United. They've got that full amount in. 45 million is absolute gold right now for Manchester United. It could bring you 3 players in terms of amortising them and the monetisation of Garnacho on top and what price you get for him. It just works perfect for PSR right now for Manchester United. And that, I think, is something that United need to be pushing. Garnacho wants the Premier League. He's asked his representation to push a move to the Premier League. Chelsea are not going to buy him. Arsenal are not going to buy him. Madueke is now, like Ornstein has said, and Romano is in negotiations. So Arsenal are talking about Gyökeres and Madueke. There's no chance that Garnacho is going to Arsenal. Liverpool, Manchester City, they're dead. Alanga's gone to Newcastle, no chance there. Aston Villa, well, likes wearing Villa shirts, doesn't he? So maybe there's a chance for Villa. Maybe he would accept, Europa League football instead of Champions League football. Wants to be in the Premier League. So from Garnacho's side, the word is that he needs to be playing in one of the top 3 divisions in Europe to get a chance to be picked for the World Cup for Argentina. Sorry, I couldn't get my words out then. But Garnacho needs to be playing in a top team to be within any chance at all of making that World Cup squad for Argentina. So Italy, Spain, United, one of them, that's fine. Italy, just accept it. Go to a club where you know you're going to be right up there. You're going to be watched because you're in the Champions League. You're the champions of Italy. Just accept it, Garnacho. No one in the Premier League is going to buy you because you've been proven to not be consistent enough in the Premier League yet. Potential, yes, loads of it. And you know what? I think he will fly in Italy. I think he's got the qualities to be a great player in Italy. I just don't think right now the Premier League has seen enough to spend that amount of money on him. And the fact that he's only on 50 grand a week wages at United, it is the perfect transfer for United to make money this summer. I don't care that he's an academy graduate. He needs to be treated exactly the same as every other Manchester United player. So Napoli coming in for Garnacho could be music to Manchester United's ears. 45 million, and that, if that is all it is, that is what it needs to be. Just let that be. That's what we will take for Garnacho. I don't think trying to get any more out of him is going to help Manchester United. 100% pure profit, 45 million. Napoli back in. Remember the stories about Antonio Conte wanting him. That's his main target. They're still there. They've never walked away. Now Osimhen is looking likely to be exiting the football club. If I'm Manchester United, I'm looking to push that deal and try and get him gone. Look, he's open to moving there. And I think now after, like we said before, 7 weeks in, not one offer. not one significant offer. Like Romano said, for any Manchester United player, you're going to have to start moving things and starting pushing it. So I think that Manchester United now, with Napoli actually interested in Garnacho, we should be looking at that and saying this is something now that is just going to push our transfer window forward. It takes the pressure off trying to sell Sancho, trying to sell Rashford, because they look like they're going to drag on. Let's be honest. Anthony, for God's sake, I don't know where that is. Malacia is peanuts anyway, but I look at Garnacho now. It just gives United a chance with that to go out and buy the players we need. So you could get your striker, you could get your midfielder with that. And that, I think, is where United are at, because 45 million pure profit from Garnacho is totally different to selling Sancho. It's totally different to selling Rashford and Anthony, because you've got no debt. You don't have to pay off a big contract like you do with Rashford. You don't have to pay off the last instalment for Sancho and the last year of his big contract. Anthony the same, getting him off the books. Garnacho, with 2 years left on his deal and 50 grand a week wages, is absolute peanuts for Manchester United. And that gives us the chance to buy two big players, massive players in fact. You could go out and buy and afford Ekitike if you wanted to, if you sold Garnacho. You could go out and buy someone like Benjamin Sesko if you wanted, if that was your target anyway, if that was the player that you wanted. And the midfield situation and where we're going to move on to next is what also opens up for Manchester United. Because I want to talk about Edison, but we have got a couple of super chats in and a few others I want to get through. First of all, Manny, after what Juve is doing to Vlahovic, I'd be getting him. He has a point to prove. A lot of people picked up on that. I will touch on Vlahovic and the update on him as well in this morning's show, so bear with me on that one, everyone. Mega super chat from Marcus, legend. Thank you so much for that, mate. Adam, have a beer and relax. Thanks for the content. I will have a beer as soon as this show matches it a bit early. No, over here in Greece right now, it's 20 to 11. So yeah, it's 20 to 11 here in Greece. So I think it's actually not a bad time actually. So. It's kind of weird actually doing the show at this time, because it feels like I'm not up to date and I'm miles behind. But the time difference definitely playing with my head this morning completely all over the place. But still alive to all of the content and everything that is going on. So thank you again, super chatters, and everyone putting the comments in. Over 400 likes, by the way, which is mega. We're still keeping our standards up even though we're abroad and on location. So if you haven't already and you're loving the content, pop a big thumbs up on the video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button as well, everybody, please, if you can. Check out all of the links in the description as well to different offers that we've got going on. We have got a big one coming up on Match Bingo as well, a big promo code coming up. So scan that QR code and download the Match Bingo app as well, everybody. We're continuing that through, but we have got some big announcements coming on that over the next few days as well also. So download the app, deposit £5, you'll automatically get £10 on top of that as a new customer as well. And there are loads of offers coming in on it. They are our matchday partners, and with the pre-season kicking off this month, there's loads to come. So check that out, please, everybody, as well. On the midfield situation, quickly, first of all, someone did just mention Vlahovic and the situation on him. That right now, as it stands, the termination of his contract is a real thing. That is actually happening. The problem that Juventus have got is he's on 315 grand a week there, pounds. So you could evaluate that to euros. You're getting closer to 350 euros, 350,000 euros a week. So you can see why Juventus are happy. Vlahovic, you would say, why is he doing that? Why is he terminating that contract when he's on so much money? Well, think about it. He's got 1 year left. So cutting that short and doing a make-weight deal, agreeing to a certain fee and terminating that contract, then gives him a signing-on fee at his next club. So he kind of, this year, will still earn probably more than what he's earning now, because he gets a signing-on fee and a payment from Juventus to terminate his contract. So that's where that makes sense, just to explain that. And then he has to obviously accept a pay cut. Now, the word is, and the word coming out on this one is, the termination is something that is definitely being discussed. And he is willing to take a huge pay cut, a massive pay cut, in fact, to force through a transfer to the Premier League. And ideally, from what's been said, and we can take the sources with a pinch of salt again, like I said at the top of the show, it is Italian driven, so we don't know if it's definite, but he wants Manchester United. United have actually spoken with Juventus. Not in negotiation, just in general on the conditions to bring in Vlahovic into Manchester United. So that, I think, is a genuine story to look at. But the update and the most up-to-date update we've got on Vlahovic is that he is willing to drop his wages significantly. Will he drop them by half? Because I think that is what Manchester United would accept. A free agent on 150 to 200 grand a week with bonuses, I don't think United would have an issue with that at all, because it's a free agent. So it saves United a fortune. I think United, like I just said, if we sold Garnacho for 45 million, you could buy Vlahovic, you could get another striker, a decent one, and you could buy a midfielder with that money. That's what Garnacho does for Manchester United. And a free agent on Vlahovic with another striker brought in on top of that, and a midfielder after Mbumo, that's what Manchester United can do. We can afford Mbumo now, just about. But if you sold Garnacho, this is why I think United should be focusing on him more than the others. The others can rot, because Garnacho carries so much more value. The others are just not going to play football. United can let them rot for a bit and let them force the move away. I think that's the tactic there. Garnacho, in a way, I think for United, becomes priority at this point. If we're struggling now, and none of them have got actual offers on them, you've got to push the Garnacho one. He's more sellable than anyone else to any other club, because United are not covering too much, like I said, and he has got the potential more than the others. He's only 20, and he has got major attributes that I think other clubs will look at. So Garnacho brings you so many opportunities and so many options if you sell him, and I think that's where United's focus needs to be. And that, I think, is why Manchester United now should focus him. If that is true and Napoli are in for him, go for it, because then you can look at the midfield options also. And the sources from Brazil, again, I think it's Brazil Goal, are talking about Ederson. We know that Ederson is real because Romano has said it. Damasio has said it. Manchester United have always been talking and communicating, not negotiating, talking about Ederson and a potential move to Manchester United. He is their top midfield target. It doesn't look like we're going to get Rios. That looks like that deal is moving forward at a rapid pace, going to Roma now. So where we might be upset that we're not actually got a deal there for Rios, or we've missed an opportunity. If we brought Ederson in, a more experienced operator, then we're looking at, I think, appeasing a lot of Manchester United fans. I think we would be happy with someone like Ederson in our team. I think that's the reality of it. So again, the talks of Ederson coming to Manchester United, 60 million euros, so you talk about 50 million quid. You can afford him easily if you sell Garnacho. That's the state of affairs. Like, you could bring in them 3 players for Manchester United. In fact, if you sold Garnacho, United could finance with PSR easily Visa, Mbumo and Ederson in one go. They could, and get Vlahovic on a free transfer. That literally, bang, just like that, that is the opportunity Man United have got. When you look at what finances we've got, the figures that have come out, how PSR is explained, what the football finance experts say, and how this works, you can see it happening for Manchester United. It's just they need that extra bit from a sale from a player like Garnacho. If you think Garnacho, Alvaro Fernandez and Anthony Elanga, even if you sell Garnacho for 45 million, you've got 60 million pounds in pure profit to play with, which is absolute gold for Manchester United, and will open this transfer window up, and everybody knows it. So if United didn't spend, then you could really go in on Ineos and really go in and say, why are you not backing Ruben Amorim? I understand, and my line is that the situation is what it is, and it's difficult. It's incredibly difficult for Manchester United. I get that. But if these deals happen and United do not spend that money, I will be on the Ineos big issue fan page. That for me will be where I draw the line in terms of Ineos not using the money that we've got. Where is that money going if we're not reinvesting it in the squad? That's when I say that United with Ineos is just as bad. I think they will just reinvest it in to the players. But if Garnacho's sold and the other players are sold, I expect 3 more big players to come in after Mbumo. That's how much Manchester United can spend. And I'm sure they've got targets Omar Berrada's come out on TV and said there's a plan, so we'll be waiting. And like I said, I will judge this window at the end of it. I'm not jumping on a bandwagon now. We're in the middle of, or the first third of July, so we're literally coming into the halfway point of the window. I'm not going to jump onto the what's going on panic mode bandwagon. I get frustrated. I get frustrated with the players that we can't sell, like every other Man United fan. But I know that things take time. I will, however, have a big issue with Ineos if they don't reinvest that money, if United do get these players sold that we're talking about. Like, for instance, last night Ben Jacobs said that Manchester United, they're going to ask for 40 million for Marcus Rashford, simply because Barcelona were willing to pay 58 million for Nico Williams. United are not going to offer any loan details or any loan options for Marcus Rashford to Barcelona. They're going to have to pay for him. Now, Marcus Rashford is willing to take a pay cut, apparently, on that, so we'll see what happens with that. But that was from Ben Jacobs yesterday. And I get that stance. It kind of goes against what I was saying at the top of the show, where United just need to take the hit, like they are going to do with Jadon Sancho eventually, because they need to get him out of the door. Marcus Rashford, I still think, has got a lot more in the bank, even though he's had a bit of a nightmare 2 years, than what Jadon Sancho has. And Marcus Rashford is a better player than Jadon Sancho, in my opinion, 100%. But still, it's right on the line, I think, 40 million. I would happily take 35 or something like that for Marcus Rashford at this point. I think that's fair. I think United probably have got a bit of room to let him go, because getting him off the books and getting over 20 million a year in wages off your wage bill, even if you have to pay out some of his contract, then that, I think, is still worth doing for Manchester United, because it gives us a massive amount of room with the budget, with the wages, and obviously 20 million off the wage bill just for Marcus Rashford alone is absolutely massive. Plus a little bit of extra with the transfer fee on top to spend. That alone, again, that buys you an Ekitike or an £80 million player if you wanted to spend that money, which is where, like I said, I will then judge Ineos, because I know from what I've read and listened to and what the football finance experts have said. I'm not one. I read and learn off what they say. If United sold Marcus Rashford, Garnacho, the room that they have got, and Sancho and Antony, if that plan comes off, the room that they have got and the money that they have got available to them to work within PSR and the restraints of PSR and financial fair play, let's not forget, United don't need to abide by financial fair play this year. Why? Because, well, we're not in European competitions, so UEFA's rules go out the window. So what Villa and Chelsea have been fined with, United don't need to work with, because we're not in a European or UEFA competition. It's just the Premier League version that we have to cope with this season. Yeah, obviously, you'll look ahead and try and balance your books in a way to fit UEFA, hopefully, for next season, because we're back in Europe. But right now, Manchester United are in the one-off position and the crucial position of being able to really bring their wage bill down, because we've got players that are not even contributing to us, that are holding that wage bill right up. The players that are playing aren't really contributing to the massive, massive wage bill. They are, but nowhere near as much. You could put Sancho, Rashford and Antony all together, and their wages probably come to the same amount as more than half of Manchester United's squad that Ruben's working with right now. That's the difference that United have got in this transfer window and with financial fair play at the moment. They've got an opportunity to move players on that are going to help so much regarding the costs and the wage bill and PSR, and be able to bring other players in that are really going to help Manchester United. Because at the end of the day, you've got people there that are costing the club a fortune, that are offering Ruben nothing. At least replace them. So you're selling them and bringing somebody else in, not on as high wages, but at least you're replacing them with players that are going to help United climb that table and effectively earn more money in doing so. So that basically is what Manchester United are looking at. And it's like a one-off sort of transfer window for Manchester United. It's a strange one, and it's hard to get your head around, but that, when you break it down, is where we're actually at with it. So, Manny, again, thank you for the super chat. Adam, would you give Vitek a run until the next window? I'll give him a run in pre-season, mate. Definitely give him a shout. Ibrahim said Garnacho for 40 to 50 million with 25% sale-on clause is okay. There will be a sell-on clause. Manchester United will will actually take that. That's what they've been doing with all of their players, which is sensible. I think Barada and Wilcox may yet pull off a couple of deals and surprise everybody. I hope they do. I really do. It will shut a lot of people up. There's so much negativity going around at the moment on Manchester United. Look, a lot of it is actually, I think a lot of it is genuine. A lot of it is real. And I can understand a lot of it. But a lot of it is just being driven through own personal agendas of hate for what Manchester United are. I actually question some people's actual love for the football club in certain areas as to how much it is just pure negativity all of the time. They don't even want to accept any positive at all. So when the news comes out and United do sell some players this summer and bring some players in, what are they going to say? They're just going to say, well, it's about time. It's about time. They won't even be able to celebrate United making a good deal at the moment. That's such is their hate for what is going on at this football club. Don't let it overpower you, is what I'm saying. There are good things, there are bad things, obviously. But right now, Manchester United, I think, are just stuck in an awkward situation where we need to be very, very precise with what we're doing. And I think that's what we are doing. Take the lower prices, get the players out, monetize what you can, and bring in 3 or 4 players that are really going to help Ruben right now this season. Let's see where we finish with that. And that's on Ruben then. But then at least you will be able to say to Ruben, if you're Ineos, for instance, if he doesn't, and all the worry about Ruben Amorim and his tactics and what he actually is as a coach that everyone was questioning towards the back end of last season, at least you can actually say, well, we give you what you wanted and you failed, you're out of the door. I hope that isn't the case, I really do. But if we don't give him the players, there's always that excuse that Ruben can stay longer and we're not actually judging football for football reasons. We're actually looking at this as another Manchester United hierarchy and management issue when we cannot judge the football properly. You get what I'm saying by that? I think that's what we need. Back the players, back the manager with the players, and let's see what he can do next season, and we will go from there. Look, that is our show all wrapped up, everybody. Thank you so much. This is our first one on tour over in Corfu. Thank you, everyone, for all of your comments. Please do drop your comments in the comment section after the show has finished its live so we can have a quick check through them. I'll have a look through them today. I'll keep an eye on all of the news and bring you any updates that are coming from the football club or any news around United as the day goes on. Thank you for all of the likes, over 500 of them. Again, absolute legends, a lot of you. I love you all. You're absolute brilliant people. Something like that, yeah. Lost for words again at the end of the show. Cheers, everyone. Mods, great job in the chat, as always. I will be back, obviously, later on with any updates. Stay tuned. Make sure you've hit the subscribe button so you know when them videos are coming, all the updates are here. I will be looking at everything while I've got the time and making sure that you are fully up to date. Love you all. Have a fantastic day, whatever